Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Yeah, I've been on holiday since we were last on. But
where did you go?
Yeah, it feels like wasn't long enough. I feel like I was like already forgotten what it's like to be on holiday. Back into it and very busy.
That's fair. I mean, I'm feeling like it's like Costa del London at the moment, so I'm just every day.
The weather does, the improvement of weather here. It was very cold this morning, but it's getting there now. It's been a nice afternoon.
Hello to everyone that's joining us in the chat. Hopefully you've all had as much sunshine as us. I assume so, because apparently it's sunny from Scotland down to London. So
yeah, so quick run through. Jeff's just saying good evening. Malcolm, good evening to you as well. He's saying it feels good to be back. I'm looking forward to this tasting following my absence. So he's missed a few. He's saying I feel like a newbie starting my tasting journey all over again.
Welcome back.
Evening to Barry Morgan and Steve Coleman Williams. To Curious Crandall. Hi everybody. Hi there. Alex Battersby. Lots of you in commenting.
Amazing.
Steve Coleman Williams saying, "Yeah, how's everyone your end? Yeah, we're good, aren't we?"
Yeah, fab. I think everyone's buzzing.
We should probably tell people what the running order is before they ask.
Yes. Shall I do the honors?
Go for it. Yeah.
So we are kicking off tonight with the Glasgow 1770 with Sebastian. And then second, moving on to our peaty whiskies, we've got the Ardnamurchan with Jenny. And then we're finishing with the peatiest, which is the High Coast with Roger. And then Jake and I will talk through the Aberlour and Jack Daniels at the end. So really interesting lineup this month.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those ones that's come together with an act. Generally, these themes tend to be a bit accidental, but there's a bit of a theme,
like a hive mind going on in some way.
Just serendipity. But all three of these distilleries that we're going to talk to make peated and unpeated whiskey.
Cool.
Although all three examples here are sort of a different way of using those. And they're all also three distilleries that I don't think have been on Pour and Sip since 2023. And I'm not sure we've had guests on the live for any of them.
Okay, so second round, but this time we have the experts.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Speaking of,
yeah, let's bring the first one in. Although I can see Sebastian's camera's turned off, so hopefully he is there.
Well,
Seb,
put him in the hot seat.
Are you there, Seb?
I am here, but my camera's not working.
No, it was all going through well.
It was. I jinxed it, didn't I? I was saying like everyone's here. I can hear everyone. I can see everyone. It's all great.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on.
So, do you want to try going out and rejoining us? We can riff for a second.
I'll be back in a second.
I feel like we need like the little elevator hold music, like a commercial.
Well, I can see other people are joining us. Claire M, evening all. Peter Gilmore, hi there. James, Chris Daniel saying hi from Sunny Bath.
Oh, lovely.
They've just had a massage there, nice and relaxed. That sounds...
What a day. What a Thursday.
Pretty awesome.
Someone knows exactly how to live. Oh, our technical issues.
Go on, Seb.
I do think, though, every time we've had an issue, obviously, it's been that we can't see someone, but it would be so much worse if you could see them and they just had to mime the whole time. Yes, he's back.
That's true. Yeah. Radio would be better than them being on mute. Yeah.
It's like whiskey crowds.
Hello there. Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties, but I'm back.
No worries. I've just seen Kevin as well saying hello from the northeast UK. It says so. Nice. Make of that what you will. Does that mean?
Regional and mysterious. Perfect. Well, my first question is, I introduced you as Sebastian, but clearly you're a Seb.
Seb, Sebastian, whatever. I've been called a lot worse, so either's fine.
Amazing. So you're coming to us aptly from Glasgow today.
Absolutely, yeah. So I live in Glasgow, based out of the distillery, so the Glasgow distillery, and we make a range of single malts, Glasgow 1770, as a range of single malts we put on the market. So excited to introduce this one, the original, and to get your feedback, your thoughts, and share a little bit more about what we do.
Amazing. Before we dive into the whiskey, it'd be great just to hear like a little bit about you and your like whiskey journey.
Absolutely, yeah. So my role at the Glasgow distillery, so I'm head of sales and marketing, so looking after markets around the world, about 28 different markets, and I'm part of the blending team in the distillery as well. So putting together all our different whiskies and different spirits across the core range of what we do, and also our small batch, limited edition, single casks. We're a small company, there's only 16 of us, so we all wear many hats
I was
in
about
there.
to say, yeah, a fellow many hat wearer. I like it.
Indeed, indeed. But it's the best way to get to know a product and get to know, how a company runs. And I've been at the distillery for about 8 years now. So we've been making whiskey for 10 years, and I've been there for 8 of them.
That's a very good shift.
Yeah.
Amazing. So Glasgow Distillery brought the return of whiskey making back to Glasgow. What was Glasgow's like distilling history before that?
Sure. So Glasgow as a city has a long connection with making whiskey and shipping it all around the world. And nowadays, Glasgow is mostly known for, it's a big centre of blending, cask storage, bottle storage. But it once had over 30 working distilleries in Glasgow. And the original Glasgow Distillery Company was one of the first of those. They were founded in the year 1770. And one of the first legal distilleries in Scotland, one of the first to get a license. So they were one of 30, and they used to make 3 different styles of single malt at the Glasgow distillery, across triple distilled whiskies, unpeated whiskies, peated whiskies, the same 3 styles that we make today. They closed, and they were the last of those 30 to close in 1902. And between 1902 and 2012, when we founded the Glasgow distillery, there wasn't a new single malt whiskey distillery making single malts in Glasgow. There was some single malt getting made at Strathclyde distillery, big green producer, in the 60s under the Kinclaith name, which you can kind of still find on auction sometimes. But we were the first new independent whiskey distillery for over 100 years or so when we started. And since we've started, we've got our friends at the Clydeside Distillery who have started as well. And there's a few other distilleries in planning permission in Glasgow at the moment too. So it's quite an exciting time in the city, I think in the Lowland region in general, to be honest. And yeah, we've been going since 2012, and we started producing our whiskey in 2015.
Okay. When the distillery opened, did you look back to those? I assume you did look back to those styles of whiskey that were being produced before.
It was, so I joined 2 years after our whiskey production started, but speaking to the founders of the business who are still involved in the day-to-day capacity, they did quite a lot of research on Glasgow, its history, the style of whiskey that was getting made, but it was very much with a view to create a modern whiskey and a contemporary approach to single malt, and trying to showcase that a lowland whiskey can actually be a broad range of flavour. It doesn't just have to be light and grassy like we are typically told lowland whiskies should be or are historically. They wanted to be able to showcase a whole range of flavour, which is why we make triple distilled whiskies, which are super smooth, delicate, really vibrant. We make double distilled whiskies, which are very fruity at their heart, and then a range of peated whiskies, which are super smoky, oily, totally different from what you'd call a classic lowland. And it's really that breadth and depth of flavour that we're producing that informs our core range of single malts, but it's also showing what contemporary modern distillation can look like.
Amazing. And so the whiskey we've got today is the original, and that is double distilled.
Yeah.
I was wondering, actually, sorry, speaking about the different styles that you produce, your peated versus your unpeated whiskey, is the only difference between them sort of that you use peat or don't use peat, or are there other production differences that you would find, like adding or changing the flavour?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So every year we produce our 3 styles. So we split our yearly production into 3 separate blocks. For 1/3 of the year, triple distilled whiskies, which are unpeated, using unpeated malt. 1/3 of the year, the double distilled with unpeated malt, and 1/3 of the year, the double distilled with peated malt. But it's not just the case of one goes through a still in extra time and the others use peated, unpeated malt. We're using different yeast strains for our different recipes, and we've got different cut points, importantly. So the cut point where you're capturing the hearts that are going to go into the cask for maturation. With our triple distilled, we're cutting very high. So we're left with this super bright, super clean style of spirit, which is exactly what you want with triple distilled whiskies. And with our peated whiskey, we're cutting very low. So we stop collecting the hearts at 57%, which means we get almost a smattering of the low wines in the spirit itself. So it's oily, it's rich, it's got a lovely kind of viscosity and texture. So we like to think of it as kind of like 3 separate core DNAs that run through the business. It's almost like having 3 different distilleries using the same equipment to produce different new make styles. And the majority of distilleries in Scotland will, I guess, produce one style of spirit throughout the year and then use different casks or ages for the different expressions. We're actually starting with 3 totally different starting points, which means we're exponentially widening the flavor range that we're able to produce before we even start talking about casks and different cask influences on top too.
Yeah, as a blender, that must be like the options are literally limitless.
It's fantastic, you know, because we do a lot of speciality casks, what we would call so kind of non-standard cask filling. So, for example, if we're taking some cognac casks and we've got 12 cognac casks, we'll split those into 3, and we'll fill some with triple, some with unpeated, some with peated. And, you know, after 3-4 years, these are totally different expressions. So it really is kind of a dream as part of the blending team to be able to have all of these, you know, different styles at your arsenal to put together some really cool whiskies.
Yeah. I saw that you have a, like an ex-Islay cask whiskey. Is that how you would play with the smokiness in your unpeated single malt, or would it be sacrilegious to blend the 2 to add a bit of that smokiness?
Yeah, not at all. No, we like blending them together. So we recently had a cognac cask release that's still available, where we're taking some peated whiskies, some unpeated whiskies, marrying them together for what we're calling a lightly peated Glasgow release. That Islay cask is actually one of our peated whiskies, because when we're making our peated styles, we're using mainland peat. So we get this kind of heather, floral, soft, barbecue forward, the campfire, bonfire smoke. And we wanted to see what would happen if we put that into a cask from Islay, so a cask that already held Islay whiskey. So we kind of created a bottling where you've got 2 different styles of smoke complementing each other. You've got the barbecue forward character from our spirit, and you've got this slight medicinality, salty citrus forward from the Islay cask. So that was a really cool, but that was part of our small batch series, which is our limited edition range.
Yeah. Cool. I don't know if I've really ever seen that elsewhere, Jess. Because obviously people are trying to introduce a sort of a lick of peat without using peat often, you know, when they're using those casks. That's really interesting. That's really cool.
It is cool. That particular release was part of our small batch series. So just to talk you through very quickly how we structure our whiskies. Like I say, we do the 3 production styles and what we call our signature range, which is our core 3 bottlings. They each celebrate one of those styles. Core range triple distilled, the original, which is the representation of our double distilled unpeated style, which we're trying today, and then our core range peated, which is just called peated. And one's blue, one's green, one's red. And so that's kind of like our core 3 DNAs in bottles. We then have our small batch series, which is a revolving door of limited editions, interesting cask finishes. So if our core range celebrates 3 styles of spirit production, the small batch celebrates interesting cask maturation, cool finishes. And these are anything from a single finishing cask up to a small vatting of 5 or 6 casks. And these come out about 3 times a year. There's usually 2 or 3 bottlings in each release. And they really just are showcasing the experimentation that we're doing with our different spirit styles across a wide range of casks, be it Madeira, Marsala, ports, wines, beers, tequila, mezcal, anything we can fill and still legally call Scotch whiskey, we're trying across our 3 different styles. And because we're a relatively new distillery, we're still finding out as ourselves, as a younger whiskey making team, how our different styles of spirit interact in different styles of casks. So for me, the small batch series is almost like an independent bottling of our own whiskey. You know, it's showcasing the journey that we're on as whiskey makers, experimenting with this wide variety of flavor impact.
Yeah, I love that. It's like nothing's off the table.
Absolutely. And that's one of the benefits of being a small company with a small team, and also being a new distillery without a long legacy or heritage that we have to fall back on. We're able to come up with ideas and roll with them.
Amazing. I feel like we talked about the original mentioned it a few times now, so we're going to have to dive in and have a sip.
I was about to say, yeah,
We'll have
the
already.
members definitely have. So let me tell you what's going on there. So straight off the bat, sort of Curious Crandall's saying how, you know, these virgin oaks casks, these fresh oak casks that you've used, they're pretty impressed that it's not overpowering, which they've had with virgin casks elsewhere. We've got Malcolm Tucker, who's getting citrus and mango, drizzle of honey, light malty notes. Barry Morgan's very much enjoying the nose. He's getting pear drops. We've got sherbet lemons from Steve Colin Williams. Real Boingus and fruity pineapple. Barry Morgan confectionery sweets. Lots of comments. Peter Ray saying pineapple rock is what it reminds them of. That's a cool one.
Absolutely.
Jeffs is getting some summer fruits and marzipan. Clive Hampton's getting some biscuit on the palate. We've got fruit salad sweets from Nick Tarrant. These are all great. And Mike Pizarro had a question which is about blending your distilling stars, I think, which I think you covered that although you have these signature stars, that sometimes you do blend some of them together.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing's off the table. So our current cognac cask release, like I say, is Ardnamurchan peated, unpeated. We've done some triple distilled whiskies with some peated whiskies. Yeah, we're trying it all. In terms of this release, that's really cool, those tasting notes, because a lot of the ones that are mentioned there across all of our bottles, I should probably have one to show you. So this is what our bottles look like. This is the original, but at cask strength, this particular version. This is a limited edition, but you'll see across the neck, we have all the different tasting notes around here. And a lot of the ones you're talking about there are on the neck of the original. So great
That's
tasting
cool.
notes, guys. There's a lot of marzipan, a lot of pineapple. And for me, I get this so just to explain the cask maturation for this particular whiskey. So for the original, 46%, everything we do across our single malts is non-chill filtered natural color. And this is a double matured whiskey. So all of the casks, it's initially a first fill bourbon cask, predominantly coming from Heaven Hill, it's a good quality bourbon producer. And then every cask is finished for 6 months in virgin oak. So we use fresh American white oak casks for just 6 months to give us these big, rich toffee notes, a lot of those darker fruits, and a little bit of black pepper on the back of the palate too. And we find a 6-month finish in that virgin oak is just enough to add all that rich character that we're looking for, but not long enough to really overpower the cask and become too tannic. I like to think of virgin oak casks as almost like if you're making a cup of tea and you leave your tea bag in the cup of tea for too long, you know it's going to go bitter, it's going to go tannic. And that's what we can find when some of these casks are overcooked in the virgin oak for too long. So 6 months, just the right amount of time. The virgin oak that we use, like I say, is all American oak. So you're getting all of that honey and butterscotch coming through as well. And we use a specific producer of casks from America. So a specific cooperage called Kelvin Cooperage. And they're known for making great quality casks for the bourbon industry and the wine industry in America. But they were started in the 1960s on the banks of the River Kelvin that runs through the middle of Glasgow and joins the Clyde River. So if anyone's been to Glasgow, they might have been to Kelvin Grove Park, for example, which is in our West End. And so the gentleman who started this cooperage in the 90s, he moved him and his family after 30 years to Kentucky because Scotch was going through a bit of a dip and he wanted to be closer to bourbon and wine. His 2 sons now run the business. And one of his sons was an apprentice cooper with the cooper that we have at our distillery in the 80s. So we have this long history with Kelvin Cooperage, and it's really cool to be bringing these kind of Glaswegian family-owned business casks back to Glasgow with Glasgow's first new whiskey in a long time.
Now, that's amazing. You couldn't make it up, like you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's the serendipity, isn't it, of Scotch whiskey, and I think it really showcases that symbiotic relationship that exists between America and Scotland, and wood and spirit coming together.
So being called like the original, this one, what I would assume from that is that this is almost like the DNA of Glasgow distillery. Is that sort of the intention?
Yeah, so this is the first style of whiskey that we released. So we first released this in 2018. And we couldn't really call it just unpeated, like we called our triple distilled and our peated. So we decided on the original because it is very much the flagship whiskey that we produce. The price for this bottle is also about £45. 43 to 45, so it's an accessible price point as well. It's a great introduction into the Glasgow 1770 range. And when we talk about DNA, people often say, well, is this the one bottle that represents Glasgow? And I say, well, we kind of have three different bottles that represent that, but this is a great showcase of that double distilled, unpeated style, approachable, fruity, with a nice kind of flavor pack profile.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, all those fruit notes obviously are coming through from the members, and they're sort of trying to put their finger on, like, it's it's fruity, but not like super sweet, or not. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not cloyingly sweet. Is what I guess what they're sort of getting on here. Like some of them are saying, I guess like it's honeyed. Maybe even like a slight sort of sharp or sour note they're discussing. So is it like a boiled sweet note? And some people getting a little lemon. I think like honey and lemon, boiled sweet, somewhere in that range is like between a few comments here. I think they're nailing it down.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is a showcase as much of the quality of the casks that we're using with first fill bourbon and then virgin oak. It's quite heavy cask treatment into the whiskey, but it really showcases the quality of the spirit that we're making off the still as well, because the original is roughly 4 to 5 years old. It changes batch to batch, so it's not going to be the oldest whiskey that you've got on your shelf. But for me, it stands up at that younger age, and it really showcases that if you produce a good quality spirit and you put in a lot of effort into creating a really fruity new make that's going into the cask, you use good quality casks, you can make something that's really enjoyable and also approachable at a relatively young age and at a decent price too.
Indeed, and even more decent price in the member store. Our Point Sip members get a discount on full bottles of all the whiskies that we include in these packs. So.
Oh, fantastic. Well, hopefully, people who come on to present get a wee discount too.
Yeah, that seems only fair, yeah. Here's a question that might be difficult to answer. Sorry, Jess.
No, carry on.
But I wonder how long it would take to sort of American tariffs to come up in some form during this tasting.
Of course.
Sort of like a general question about, American oak is used so much in whiskey. Could that become, harder to source? Is there a good alternative?
It's a great question, and one that a lot of people will be thinking about. Bourbon is a key backbone to the Scotch whiskey industry. And I think if anyone was to tell you that they've got a guaranteed answer, they'd probably be lying. So I guess we'll find out in the long term. But for us, it's all about the key relationships that you have and having good relationships with your suppliers, working directly with good quality suppliers and making sure that supply chain is coming through for you. We have we're a relatively small company, so we're buying relatively small amounts of casks. So when we're looking at tariffs and the impact of tariffs on us as a business, we feel we can kind of weather that storm a little bit better than some because of the scale at which we're producing and the way we've set up our business to be quite lean and quite small and quite an agile company. We're putting on the market about 70,000 bottles of single malt a year. We're filling about 1,500 casks a year, so we're only bottling a small amount of the whiskey we could be. And that's because for us as a company and a younger distillery, our focus is really on developing a reputation and building the business slowly but surely. Scotch is a long-term game, and just making sure that we're getting a reputation, making good quality products with a lot of stock maturing to become older. That doesn't really answer your question, I guess, but
I think it's a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah. That was a very, very serious question, but I wanted to ask something a bit more fun. And you mentioned that you have like cognac, tequila, like Calvados, beer casks, and everything in like that you've matured your whiskey in. What's like the most exciting cask that you've got maturing in your warehouse right now?
Well, we have just finished a bottling of our new small batch series, and while I can't reveal exactly what they are, we got some really rare, really, really interesting wine casks coming from a couple of really interesting regions of the world that you wouldn't usually associate with producing both kind of more traditional styles of wine and some sweeter wines as well. And those have just absolutely blown my socks off. Like, they are, I think, some of the best stuff that we've ever made. So I'm really looking forward to getting those out in a month or so. And the most exciting casks are always the ones that you're working on, right? The releases that are coming up soon. like I said, this is our 10th year of whiskey making at the distillery, and it would be amiss if we didn't celebrate that with a milestone first 10-year-old release. So if anyone was interested in finding out when our first 10-year-old will be dropping, I would say that tomorrow is probably a good time to check your inbox. Exactly. And people can sign up to our mailing list on our website and all that stuff that you'd expect. But we'll be shouting about it across Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that too, to announce some really, really cool news coming up in the next few weeks.
Very exciting.
Yeah, perfectly timed heads up.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I know. It's like
nice.
Will there be a distillery party as well, I assume?
Yeah, there'll be a party for sure. And our first cask turned 10 years old on the 5th of March. So we had a 10-year birthday party last month with cake and balloons, and yeah, it was good fun.
Oh, that sounds good.
Excellent.
I'm just conscious of time because suddenly it's nearly 8 o'clock. So if you can stay around to the end when we'll all get back together, that'd be amazing. But if not, thank you so much. I feel like we got really deep into like all that. I love how transparent you can be with like all of your whiskies. It's so interesting to talk about. So yeah, thank you.
Oh no, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'm hanging around and looking forward to the next few jams as well. So amazing. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Perfect. Thank you very much. What a nice start.
So tasty. I feel like I would put that in some sort of like a mango highball. I don't know how I'd make it mango, but do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's because the sun's out. That's what I'm thinking about.
There's enough mango in there.
That's what I mean. I'm like, does it have mango bitters?
That's great.
That'd be awful. Anyway, someone stop me.
No, I mean, this is another one of those tastings where we've got some distilleries that I really love. And yeah, I've got a lot of time for Glasgow. So that's a cracking start.
Yeah. Right. On to the peat.
Onto the peat. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So next up is something that the order was really hard to choose tonight.
Yeah.
But I think we've gone just in pure like peat ascending order, partly because I think if you don't get kind of the full like bacony effect of this one.
And I guess there's also like 1% difference in ABV as well.
Yeah,
so it's gone up sort of ABV wise, if that counts.
1 huge percent, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's bring in Jenny, who can tell us all about Ardnamurchan. Hello, Jenny.
Hi, thank you for having me. How good was that Glasgow dram? I'm savouring mine here.
Yeah.
I've just followed him on Instagram as well because I'm dying to hear what's happening.
Amazing.
It was, yeah, it's a pretty nice drop. Yeah,
Oh,
I
it's
enjoyed that
so
very much
good.
as well.
Really enjoying that. That's lovely. Thanks, Seb.
Yeah, Jenny, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to working here and what it is that you do.
So I'm Jenny. I work for Ardnamurchan and Adelphi, the independent bottler that we have. My title is Marketing Communications Manager, and that doesn't mean all I do is marketing and communications, because like what Seb described, we are also a small, dynamic, flexible company, and we have to wear many hats. So one of my hats is to be involved in innovation and sustainability, which is quite interesting. I've been in industry now for 20 years. So in terms of learning and developing with the industry, this is my dream scenario. I'm learning so much in terms of what we do with co-products and how can we make it be more efficient and how can we benefit the local area and how can we work together with the community we're in. And it's great. I'm loving it. But the best bit of my job is the blending part. Again, what Seb spoke about. It's funny how similar our roles are in that aspect. And it makes so much sense. And I mean, listen, every business have their own ideas of how they run their stuff, but it makes sense to me and everybody in our company that people are involved in blending the whiskey that have that experience and meet the people that drink it. So we have the flexibility to listen to, like when we're out doing fairs and shows in Tokyo and in Holland or in London or anywhere, we can listen to the feedback and take it back and see what we have. I'm terribly sorry. That's my famous bin alarm going off in the middle of this.
That's right.
That's what you get with old age. Your bin needs to be put out. I'm terribly sorry. Yeah, no, it gives us plenty of flexibility then to react to what people want and what they want to drink, and that's what we're all about. So yes, me and 5 other team members are part of the blending team, and we try and meet up, all of us, but if we can't all be there, we'll still blend with 4 or 3 of us. But yeah, sorry. So yeah, I've been in the industry for 20 years, and this is 5 years now I've been with Ardnamurchan. The first whiskey from us came out in 2020, the middle of the global pandemic. What could go wrong? To be honest, it worked in our favor, I think, having that captive audience. Everybody was on their screens. I mean, this is probably how this club came about. Let's be honest. People just started adapting and understanding that you can engage in whiskey and enjoyment with other people on these kind of platforms, and YouTube has been great for that. So that's how we did it. We launched our Ardnamurchan core in 2020 in the middle of the global pandemic. We sent some tasting samples out, and I think the sales team at that time was Connell, Antonia, and Graham, and Alex, our managing director, and myself helped as well. And we did Zoom tastings all over the world. I think we worked out to be like 6,500 people or something in that sort of first year. It was insane. And we did 4 a.m. Australia, Canada. The time difference didn't matter. We just we got up and just did the tasting in our pajamas. It was fun.
Absolutely, yeah. That's right. Pouring Sip pretty much did start at that time, didn't it,
I don't
Jess?
think it was intentional though, was it? Like, I think it was like a weird coincidence and something that actually just could work in this.
Yeah, so we started distilling in 2010. 2014, sorry. And Alex always had a vision of the whiskey being bottled when it was ready. And the year 2021 was flirted with. We would just, because we didn't know, nobody's going to know what happens to your whiskey. We mature our whiskey next to our distillery on the west coast of Scotland. And we're the only distillery on the peninsula in Ardnamurchan. So nobody knew what was going to happen to the whiskey once it was in the cask. And you need to just give yourself a bit of flexibility on that. And we did that by distilling both peated and unpeated spirits. And come 2020, when Connell and Alex were out at the distillery checking the casks, quality control, as we call it, they realized that we were probably ready to go into bottle. And so we brought forward the sort of soft launch plan of 2021. We brought it forward to the autumn 2020 because the whiskey was ready. And the whiskey that came out was 5 years old. And the whiskey we're trying today, the sherry release, is bottled in 2024, and it was distilled 2018 and 2019. So it's a young whiskey again. It's a 15-year-old. My maths has gone out the window. It's a 5-year-old that we're trying. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster since we turned 10 last year, and now we're coming into our 11th year. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. When you've touched on a few things that I want to ask you about. Don't know where to start. I mean, well, let's start with Steve Coleman Williams saying, "It's okay. I've got a bin alarm as well." So yeah,
it's old age. Seriously, I get laughed at a lot. What do we do before mobile phones telling us when to put the bin out?
But I mean, I'm a big fan of the whiskey. I know a lot of people at Mom are. But before we sort of dive into the whiskey, you sort of touched on when you're saying the bits that you work on in the company, sort of the sustainability side and the co-products and things like that, which I know is a big sort of focus of yours. So I don't know if you want to explain a bit about, there's a number of things you do, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So anybody that's been out to Ardnamurchan Distillery, or even just look at it on a map, if you're in front of your screens right now, it's very remote. It takes, it's the most furthest western part. Like, it's the most furthest part in the western. It's the most west you can get. Why can I can't string my sentences together after that Glasgow whiskey. We are as far west as you can get in the mainland. And it's really remote to get to us. There's a peninsula there that takes a good hour after you come off the ferry. The road is a single track road. We're pretty much self-sufficient. If we have to try and be self-sufficient as much as we can. And obviously we rely on ingredients coming. So the barley comes from our maltsters. and the casks will be transferred over there. But everything else we try and use locally. So, and the yeast come in obviously in as well. But we do where we are. You make spirit, which is what the end game is: make spirit and mature it, and it turns into whiskey. But while you're doing that, you end up with a lot of byproducts, co-products, and waste products. And in order to reduce the transport or the lorries to the peninsula, we work closely with a local renewables firm, which is 2 kilometers away from the distillery up on the hill. And they repurpose a lot of our byproducts. In fact, most of our byproducts, they repurpose and turn into something that adds a value to the peninsula. So for example, when you, the first distillation, you end up with a lot of the pot ale, like the sludge that come off that distillation, that gets piped over the hill, over to this renewables place. They mix it with the draft that comes off the mashing. And instead of just, so the rules have changed a lot. I know you've all done distillery tours where you've been told, oh, the draft gets sent to the farmer and the cows are happy. I mean, that still happens, but we have to send every draft sample, every draft batch, you need to send a sample off to SEPA, or you need to keep it's important that we're not poisoning the cows when they're eating the draft. So there's a lot of laws and like that goes into that. So it's not a sustainable thing, because draft is wet and it gets really moldy and it gets really I bet you're really happy you asked me for this now, because I get really geeky and detailed. But you don't want to sit with the draft for a long time because it goes up. So what we've come up with, or together with this renewables company, is that they dehydrate that down, mix it with the pot ale, and it turns into food pellets for the animal. So they're dehydrated, dry food pellets, pot ale and draft. It's amazing. It's genius. And that then gets spread on the peninsula when it's in wintertime, when the animals can't feed off the grass, or when they need extra nutrition. So it gets used that way. The other thing that we do is all the spent lees that comes off the spirit still gets piped across the hill and treated through a reed bed, which is a really popular way of treating it. Now it's biological, it's really harmless to nature, and the water then can go back out to nature after the treatment. And yeah, it's been that sort of circular economy and holistic way of looking at whiskey making or spirit distillation. It has, I think Ardnamurchan has been, since before I joined, it's thanks to Alex and his natural curiosity to try and use new innovation and how can we make things work for the local area as well. It's just all come together for Ardnamurchan. No, everything doesn't work. We've just done a trial on wastewater treatment that worked, but it didn't work, and you know, we have to try things before we know if it works or not. So, but yeah, no, in the grand scheme of things, we're doing really well. And
I think you use a lot of sort of solar and hydro power as well. And
we do, yeah. We have a hydro. The Woodland Renewables place that I was talking about earlier. They supply us with the wood chip, so we have a wood chip fired steam for our stills. And solar panels as well for energy, and we basically generate all the heat and energy needs that we need for making whiskey, and to heat the visitor center and the cottages and on site. So yeah, we're very self-sufficient in terms of energy as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see there's already comments on the whiskey coming through. Some people are not happy that being in arms are a thing for old people. Apparently, they're arguing they're very young. Actually,
listen, I'm talking about myself when I'm referring to the old generation. Sorry if I've upset somebody.
No. And then we've got Smoky Tartan from Kevin B. Clive Hammond's getting sort of apple and sherry, sort of a little vinegar edge as well. Jeffster's got sort of tobacco, sweet tobacco, and he's like, to heck with the nose. The first nose. The first taste is stunning. Always loved a sherry cask. And yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah,
they've actually ordered a bottle already.
Great,
straight in there.
The first time we bottled this was in 2023. So this is this is the second batch after that. This is the 2024 batch. Yeah, it's great.
Lots more taste notes, but let's talk about sort of how this one comes together, because it is 100% sherry cask, right? But utilizing your peated and your unpeated?
100% sherry cask. It's you would think I would know the proportions of peated unpeated now. It's difficult now. I needed to look at that product sheet. I should have done. I think it's about, well, I know what we've done because I was there when we were blending it. All the peated parts in this were in sherry butts, and they were Spanish Oloroso butts. And then a part of the unpeated proportion was from hogsheads, and they were all sourced. They were Spanish oak, Pedro Jimenez, and there was some Spanish Oloroso butts as well. I think it's a 40-60 proportion in terms of peated, unpeated. So it's predominantly peated, 60% peated and 40% unpeated. I should have checked that. I was terribly sorry. I was just looking at the makeup. And
people who might ask in a minute, I think your peated is 35 ppm.
Yeah. So in terms of the malt, the peated, the malted barley, yes, it's 30 ppm. We do both unpeated and peated barley at Ardnamurchan. But when we say peated, it's gently peated, like 30 ppm is not that much. However, we've started since a couple of years back to do an 80 ppm. So we have also got the bigger peat coming out at some point, not long away. We're sort of checking on it every so often, just to see what it comes out like. It's all a little bit of trial and error for now, you know, but so far so good. We quite like this gentle peat. Like Alex, when he was part of the building of this distillery and the foundation of this distillery, and he came from this background where he's a big fan of the Campbelltown whiskies, right? So he knew what peat level he was looking for, and he knew what type of peat would give us that nice West Coast character that we're looking for. And we've got that. Not referring to this whiskey as much, but maybe the core comes more the oyster shell, the bonfire on the beach, that sort of classic mineralic, nice West Coast, Scottish West Coast distillery. In here, somebody had mentioned, I think, smoky meats and things. For me, it's like when you're in Spain and you walk into this, like a Spanish tabac where they have like the drinks and the sherries and the dry meat, cured meats in the ceiling. And
yeah,
it's just that really, and the dark wood and the sort of warm sun on the wood. It just has that really rich woody character. I love it. I don't know if, because you're both glasses wearers, this is a new feature for me, or a few years ago. Again, we'll mention my age, but with age, I find that I have to lift my glasses up to nose my whiskies, and I look really funny doing it because I think it closes my nose up. So I always lift my glass and nose the whiskey.
You don't want the top of your nose pinched.
Yeah, it feels like it's pinching on my nose.
That's really funny.
Maybe that's a tip. That's like a hot tip.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Try it.
Because mine are just getting bigger and bigger. So at this point, they're going to be like squishing a nose.
At some point, it
do
will
the sort
be.
of Eric Morecambe bit. Move it out of the way.
Maybe we need to get some up with like a whiskey nosing stick where we just move the glasses up.
This is what's been missing.
Try it. I definitely think it makes a difference. It could just be in my mind. But yeah, for me, this is a proper, I mean, we just spent 10 days in Jerez in September there, the team. And because we were looking at casks, and we were hosting, and we were just learning about how these casks and barrels and butts and hogsheads are made for us. And so interesting. Like we work with this company, Miguel Martin, and they can talk to us about how from acorn to barrel, how that is just, it's all there. Like he has the knowledge, he has the skills, he knows the background, and that's kind of how we work as well. And it's really good being part of this like smaller whiskey business where you are so in tune with your suppliers and your consumers. It's a really good position to be in. And back to the whiskey, on the nose, that sort of Spanish style bar shop, but then on the palate, really round, leathery. Again, back to the there's a bit more cloves and those winter spices that you expect, like cinnamon and cloves, and quite drying at the end. And that's the peat. That's the sort of gentle sort of brush of peat that almost like embraces you like a nice cozy blanket, rather as whacking you in the face, kind of going, "Wait, I'm here." I like how it goes together. It's a delicate business, getting the balance right.
Yeah.
And that's why when you ask what proportion is, it in general strokes is 40-60, but that doesn't mean every sherry release from us is going to be like that, because it depends on what proportion of of butts we have compared to hogsheads, because they're different sizes.
Yeah.
It's all a balance.
No, 100%. I'm trying to follow sort of like 4 different conversations in the chat as well.
Oh,
No, it's don't apologize. Everything you're saying is fantastic.
I talk so much.
No, it's fine. I'm just a lot of the tasting notes that you've mentioned are coming through. As long, you've got some cooked meats. Someone said oyster shell peat.
Yeah. Well, that tarry rope, I mean, that's not a very sort of attractive tasting note. It is for me, because I absolutely love the coat.
Same, yeah.
But a tarry rope that has that sort of element of nice waxiness as well.
I think it's the texture of it as well that's like in the image. And
I heard you mention the strength. I think you've done the right thing in terms of lining us up. ABV matters. It does. And I know that Roger is going to talk about High Coast shortly, and they're 1% higher than us. And I think that is the right way to put it, because it is important to get that ABV right in between all the whiskies.
I'm going to cover a couple of things people are saying, because it is making me chuckle. Between the tasting notes, there's what Peter Ray's said. I've just tried lifting my specs. That is a top tip. Yeah.
I'm glad. You heard it here first.
Genuinely.
Another conversation going on about sort of what people, how do people watch these? What's your setup? So someone's got the video on the TV screen, but then they've got their live comments on a laptop separately.
Oh my God.
Someone else is saying, yeah, that's kind of similar to me. Jeff's got 3 screens. One has with Pour and Sip YouTube on one, and then he's got the Pour and Sip shop on another. So you can quickly
no time wasted.
I love that.
I have to tell them on TV now.
I've got a couple of other people who are just saying that they're massive fans of the distillery.
Nice.
They've got loving this, but also got a bunch of other bottles. Somebody recommended, apparently there's a vlogger, Ruth Ashling, who does a fantastic video tour of the distillery. So
yes, absolutely. She did a really nice tour of the distillery. So Callum, who works with us, showed her around. And it was not just, it was the distillery featured, but it's about the whole peninsula. So it's worth watching for getting to know the peninsula. We have a YouTube channel. Like, we're not just a whiskey distillery, we're YouTubers as well. We have a channel. We hired Callum. He's great at making content. So we're just getting him to film random things and stick it on our YouTube. So please do follow us. We do try and keep everybody up to date with what's happening. We've just released this mezcal maturation. I heard you talk to Seb about mezcal, or I think he pronounced it right, mezcal or something. I don't know. Anyway, I don't speak Spanish, but yeah, mezcal release has just come out. We do this amazing. My favorite ever whiskey that we make is the Polo Noir that comes out every summer. I just love it to bits. It's my favorite that we do. It's unpeated, mature, finished in this French white wine casks. We have a great range. Just follow us on the social and see what we're up to. I think it's important.
Just got the last couple of tasting notes coming in. Real Boinger's getting some orange jellies, dried fruits, clove, campfire, smoky orange marmalade finish. So yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see it, and I'm not. So I was just on the peninsula there the other day, and me and Connell, our sales director, and Callum, who's creating content, decided to go for a walk along the coastline to go around the McLean's Nose area, which is a rocky outcrop and next to the distillery. And it's also the namesake of our blended Scotch. And we thought,
which
we
still had on Pour and Sip, I believe, a few months back.
Yeah. So that was 2 days ago. And today I had this itchy bit, and I looked, and I had a tick bite. Oh. So you can see. So I've just I spotted it in the camera there just earlier. So, do come and visit us, but be aware there are midges and there are ticks. Not trying to put people off, but a lot of people don't actually make it as far as
bring your insect repellent. Yeah.
I know.
That's so funny. Be prepared with a bottle of whiskey, though. I like that.
Well, I just poured some whiskey over it, and I think it's going to be better already.
That tick had the best time of its life.
The sherry Cask Release is part of our core. So we've got the Ardnamurchan single malt, we've got the McLean's Nose blended Scotch, the sherry wood, and the cask strength. Those are the 4 in our core range. And then every so often we come out with our limited releases that can be 5,000 to 7,000 bottle batches. This one is usually around about 15 to 20,000. I think the last sherry was 21,000 bottles, and it's sold all over the world. It's great to see how much people appreciate it. Like, I mean, I'm looking at the bottle right next to me now. The color is insane.
I was gonna say, I feel like we needed to shout about the fact that it's natural color,
It
because
is
that bottle makes it look also like 10 times better, but even in the glass it still shows, which is crazy.
so dark. It's proper mahogany. Now, we shouldn't be led by color. Like, seriously loved how complex this dram was, which is the Glasgow one. It's stunning. Absolutely loved it. And for us now to blend this next year, I mean, we just have to hope that the casks have given the same color, because it's all natural, and it's a risky game, to be honest. But we're not obsessing too much about the color. If the color is great, then fabulous, because it does sell better when it's darker sherry whiskey. But it's not that. That's the main thing for us. Is the flavor, it's the taste, it's the enjoyment of the dram in the glass, and that's what we're constantly educating people on. Like, don't be fooled by the color, because it's what's in the glass. But that is natural color, and it is cool.
Yeah, that being said, this does look amazing.
I'm conscious of time. I mean, this is a cracking dram, and I'm enjoying listening to you. But
Sorry,
I have to move on to speak to Roger.
yes,
This has been great. People still commenting. Dave's Woolcock has ordered a bottle and says he's going to try it with his local Butley Creek oysters.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Works really well. And a really dark, really mature, ripe cheddar cheese as well works beautifully as well.
Nice.
The crumbly cheese works nice with that sort of waxy, peaty sherry.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Jenny. Yeah, if you can hang about, then we'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Amazing. Oh, that was delicious.
It is, yeah. I think I was about to say something that Chris in our curation team said, but I think I even put it on the tasting card.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Taking over his shelves.
Ardnamurchan is taking over his shelves at home, basically. Yeah. Some tasty whiskey, those.
It sounds like he didn't even know it was happening. Do you know what I mean? He's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
Just
so
turned
much.
around. I've got loads of different whiskies. All from one distillery.
Yeah. I feel like, though, when you have all of these distilleries that obviously make so many different kinds, it's like, go for it. Like, if you're going to pick one, at least have it make like 3 different styles of.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And I mean, we talked about it earlier, but High Coast is another distillery that do both peated and unpeated, which you can ask, Roger about in a second. But I'm trying to think, did we do an unpeated High Coast, or did we? Oh no, we had the Timmer a couple of years ago, which is kind of
like
similar to the base of this one. This one takes it different places, but Roger will explain it better. Let's bring Roger in. He's been waiting patiently.
The perfect segue. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for waiting.
Yes. Time for even an older Swede.
So I feel like everyone's been talking about how lovely and sunny it's been, but you were just mentioning that it's been snowing where you are.
Yep.
Give you some. So where are you coming to us from today?
Yeah. Most of the Swede would say it's the northern part of Sweden, but actually geographically it's just above the middle point of Sweden. But the majority of the population is in the south, so everyone says this is the northern part. So Sweden is a rather tall country, and we used to be the northernmost distillery, but not anymore.
You've had the title swiped from you. So you are the master distiller for High Coast.
Yeah, that's right.
It'd be great to just hear a bit about yourself and your time in the whiskey industry.
Yeah, I started as a mechanical engineer, designing big machines and trains and stuff. But I had since the 80s a huge interest in alcohol. Actually, I tried to make beer, wine, and spirit, and so on, and began to be a beer geek in the 80s. And then my whiskey interest was growing, and in the middle of the 90s, it was almost 100% whiskey. So I started doing whiskey tastings, and then I started a limited company in 2002, educating bar personnel, whiskey clubs. We have a lot of whiskey clubs in Sweden. And actually had plans of moving to Scotland and work in a distillery. But at that time, I got an offer to run a brand new distillery in northern Sweden. And I couldn't refuse that offer. So I had to move 940 kilometers north.
Oh, wow. I mean, closer than Scotland, I guess.
So it's a beautiful place. It was a rather small distillery. We had 2 pot stills. Could do like 5 batches a week. Started around 100,000 liters of pure alcohol. At that time, we did equal amount of peated and unpeated whiskey or spirit. But after a while, when we start blending whiskey, we realized to add some peaty flavors to bottling, we don't need 50% peat. So we reduced the amount of peat to about 20%. And the last 2 years, it's been like 5-6% peated.
Okay.
We'll do more this year. Our normal peat level is around 40-45 ppm.
Okay.
Actually, this week we started to make the most heavily peated spirit so far at 128 ppm.
Wow.
Wow.
So I've been a couple of days standing at the spirit safe and drinking a lot of new make to try and figure out the recipe for this malt.
Wow.
But it's fun.
Yeah, that sounds. So you've been on board since the very beginning. I mean, that's.
Yeah. Not when the company started, but I was on site like a month before we started production.
Wow. Okay.
So I was the distillery manager for the first 13 years.
Okay. And then you moved into distilling. I wanted to quickly, before we delve into the whiskey, because like it says on the tasting card here, you were previously called Box Distillery, but had to change your name. I just wondered why originally you were called that, like, because High Coast is like the translation of obviously where you are in Swedish, but yeah, I was wondering what the name Box Distillery meant.
We need to go way back. The distillery is located very nice, just at the shore of the mighty river called Ångermanland Älven, and it used to be a transport route for a lot of timber, so it was shipping a lot of timber down the river. And just north of our distillery was a big sorting place, actually the biggest one in the world. It was 700 people working with sorting timber. And some of them was shipped away, and some was sawn on place. So, and the sawmill that was located at our premises was specialized making wooden parts for boxes for export to England.
Okay.
And in Swedish we call it låda, but in English it's called box. So in around 1850 they changed the name of the company to a Box Limited Company. Afterwards, the area was called Box. So if you look at old maps, it's called Box.
Okay.
And the sawmill was burned down in 1895, and then they built a power station, a wood-fired power station, to produce electricity for the sorting place. And that power station was called Box Power Station.
Right.
That was only operated between 1912 and 1924, and there was a plan of demolish the building, but an local artist, saved the building and had it as a gallery and studio, and he called his gallery Box Power Station. And after a few years, it was raining through the roof, and he asked his brother, "What should we do with this building?" And his brother said, "Let's make whiskey." But it took many years from that idea to have a company, and especially foundings to buy equipment and start production. So in the spring of 2010, we had enough money to buy the equipment from 4 sites. And in late November 2010, we started production.
Right. Okay.
And then we started with box distillery and box whiskey.
Okay. Right. When did the name change?
We changed the name of the company in and the products in 2018.
Okay.
There was some ideas from another company called Compass Box. Said it was unfortunate to have 2 whiskey companies with the box in the name, and we didn't take that fight. So at that time we had our brand name and logo. It was Box, the High Coast Distillery.
Okay.
So we just erased the box, and High Coast Whiskey and
Gotcha.
High Coast Distillery was left.
Oh, okay. So at least it had been there sort of since the beginning.
Yeah, so Box is a small area around the distillery. High Coast is a large area.
Okay. Oh, that's so interesting.
Mm.
What is the sort of like geography of where you are? Like, can you sort of describe it to me? Because I don't obviously know Sweden very well.
Yeah, we're located at the river. River is almost 2,000 meters wide, and it passes through 485,000 liters of ice cold water every second.
Wow.
And we borrowed some of that water for cooling the stills. And around us is, some people call it mountains, but have you been in countries with a lot of real mountains? I would say it's a lot of hills. Sort of mountains. A lot of forest, of course, as in most part of northern Sweden. And it's very quiet. And Jenny said that Ardnamurchan is remote. Yeah, we are remote.
Yeah.
So it takes about 5.5 hours drive from Stockholm to get to High Coast. But we have a lot of visitors anyway. During summer times, we have about 25,000 visitors to come to the distillery. So
yeah, they're making the trip. It's amazing.
Mm.
Okay, so onto the whiskey. Today we have a whiskey from the Silent Mills collection, and I believe it's the second release called Sandö.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a bit about the Silent Mills as a collection before we get into this specific release?
Yeah, in 2019 in the spring, we released our core series with 4 bottlings. In Swedish, they're called Älv, Hav, Berg, and Timmer. In English, it's river, ocean, mountain, and timber.
Okay.
Älv or river is unpeated, matured in bourbon cask. Hav or ocean is lightly peated, mostly bourbon cask with some virgin oak casks to add some spicy notes.
Mm.
And Berg or mountain is our most popular whiskey, unpeated and mostly PX cherry cask with some bourbon cask as well. And timber is our peated recipe, matured in first fill bourbon casks.
Okay.
And each of those 4 will have 4 tribute bottlings that inspired by the father or parent, we'll call it. And Silent Mills is a tribute series for timber.
Mm-hmm.
So the base is bourbon cask matured peated recipe. In the first Silent Mills, we had some virgin American oak. In the second, we have some Oloroso sherry casks. In the third one was some Swedish oak. And in the fourth and last one was some port wine cask as well.
Okay.
So in this one, it's 22% Oloroso sherry cask. If I remember right, it was made of the American oak. We have most of the sherry cask we have is made of American oak. We have some Spanish European oak as well.
Is that slightly more unusual to have sherry in American oak?
No, most of the sherry cask produced is made of American oak.
Okay.
The sherry producers in Spain I've talked to, they prefer sherry matured in American oak. The only reason they do sherry cask of Spanish oak is because there are a lot of whiskey producers that are asking for European oak sherry casks.
Okay, interesting.
But for me, you get some spicy notes from the European oak that I would like to add with virgin oak cask instead of getting from sherry casks.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So what was it about? Well, actually, one thing I was going to say was, what does Sandö mean?
Oh, yeah, good question. All the four silent mills has name of kind of famous old silent sawmills in the area.
Okay.
And at the timber sorting place, they had marked the end of the timber logs with a hammer, so I had a symbol on the end of the timber log. So at the sorting place, you can see that, okay, this timber log should go to this sawmill, and this go to this ship. And they all have different symbols. So we have those symbols on the label.
Oh.
So there could be a lot of different symbols. The last one for silent mills 4 has a heart shape symbol. And this one is rectangle. No, it's a square on tipped square. I remember. Yeah.
Sure.
I don't have the bottle here. I have some.
Do I was going to try and help you.
It's got a square on it, like a
yeah.
I really
that's all. Normally, timber or the origins we have is roughly 8 years old. Could be between 7 and 10 years old. And this one, the bourbon cask, like 78% of the content is a bit more than 7.5 years old, and the sherry casks are a bit younger.
Okay.
Sure.
But the idea was to keep the style of timber with pure bourbon cask, but add some extra notes, and in this case, some sherry notes. So it's not a heavy sherry whiskey, just some notes of sherry.
Yeah. Have we got any tasting notes coming through, Jake?
Yeah. There's a few comments. So, I mean, Steve wants to pre-order his bottle of the 128 ppm.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people who are like, "Ooh, that's sounding good."
Actually, we are in 2 weeks. We will be in the whiskey fair in Gothenburg, and we will offer 100 casks, PX sherry casks with this 128 ppm spirit. So we're selling a lot of private casks. It's been more than 11,000 private casks since we started. Mostly 40 liters, but some customers want bigger casks up to 500 liters.
Oh my gosh.
So I hope we will sell 100 casks in a few hours in Gothenburg.
Sounds like possibly.
Could be a good afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done it before. Many years ago, we offered 100 casks of Quercus mongolica, the Asian oak.
Yeah.
8 of them was sold in 40 minutes, and the rest of the 100 was sold in a few hours.
Wow.
So
People love it.
Do you continue to look after those casks for them?
Yeah, well, the cask is matured in our warehouse next to the distillery, and it's bottled then when the customer says that their whiskey is ready. So they can personalize the label, but everything is done at the distillery.
Okay, so they get to choose when the moment comes. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some tasting notes coming through, of course. We have some banana from a couple of people, nuts, toffee, some woody smells that people have tried to put their finger on that Chris Danion's Danish wife says is birch trees, which, I was trying to find a way of describing that as well. It's nice. We've got some pears, sweet smoke. We've got Clive Hampton's saying this is very smooth. You could turn it into a lozenge and just suck it. It's lovely. So it's like a boiled medicinal kind of sweet. So Steve Colin Williams is getting some ripe plums as well, so get a bit more of that sherry coming through for him. Then I'll try and see if we've got any questions. I saw sorry, quite a lot of questions, quite a lot of comments. Jenny's also on YouTube as well as backstage at the moment, so she's saying that High Coast is situated in the most beautiful part of the world and would thoroughly recommend visiting. So there you go.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
It's fangirling. It's really interesting because obviously it's peatier, but it's almost really opposite to the Ardnamurchan in that it's like quite crisp. I find.
So like another comment that's just coming through is how like it's got the extra depth of the sherry, but like just enough, just to
Normally, the peat profile for our whiskey is not that heavy in the nose. You get it in palate and especially in the finish. And we had no idea from the beginning to make the most peatiest or smokiest whiskey in the world. Just want to have a couple of different main recipes for the production. We have tried some other stuff, but the unpeated made from Pilsen malt, it's a Swedish malt, gives us very clean and crisp and fruity flavors. And then we have the peated version. Sometimes the peat comes from Belgium, sometimes from UK. This one is from UK. I can't remember which, might be Crisp or Simpsons. I can't remember. It was many years ago. But we do some organic malt as well. But 20% of production is organic. I would do more if the price was right, but it's blood expensive to buy organic malt in Sweden. And there is no demand of organic whiskey among customers so far. But the spirit we make today, I will sell in 12 years, and who knows what people want in 12 years. So,
that's an interesting point. Yeah.
Do you notice a considerable difference in the whiskey made with organic malt?
The thing is, I was talking to a lot of Swedish brewers making beer in Sweden, and they wasn't fond of the organic malt. The yield was low and so on. So I expected to have low yield, but I couldn't see any difference in yield. And the flavors are at least as good as the conventional malt.
Yeah, interesting.
Just that the price isn't right.
Yeah. That was something I wanted to mention actually, is that you mentioned that you originally started out making beer and like all of that kind of thing. So do you still have that sort of like brewing mindset? I feel like now people are talking about yeast a lot more, so that must sort of come full circle for you.
Yeah, well, I'm a home brewer, so I make beer at home. I make a whiskey, and we also have making some beer at the distillery, but we only sell it in our own restaurant. So normally you have like 5-6 different beers made at the distillery.
Oh, that's very cool. Is there like does the beer and the whiskey, do they ever start out the same and then one becomes beer and one becomes whiskey, or are they totally different?
Normally we do in 2 different locations and separate type of malts. But the first imperial stout we made, instead of starting brewing with water, we started brewing with water from the whiskey production. So it was quite strong.
That's really cool. I was reading what it says here in the tasting note that you were the distillery was inspired by Japanese whiskey making and also by Islay. But I was just wondering sort of like what parts of those you took and what like parts of those inspiration you had, like put into your own whiskey, and I guess what you've made your own.
Well, when I came to Box, or the distillery it was called in the beginning, they already bought 2 stills. So I saw what I had to work with. and tried to figure out all the things to make the recipe for both unpeated and peated. And at that time, I had a crush in Japanese whiskey. I love Japanese whiskey. I hadn't tried any Japanese new make though, so I had to figure out how should the new make be to make a whiskey that will be like this in 12 years.
Right.
A few years later, I went to Japan and visited a lot of distilleries and was quite disappointed when I tried the new make, until I came to Chichibu.
Sure.
The Chichibu new make was so close to our new make. I was really, really happy. And you can't make a peated whiskey, malt whiskey today without looking at the Scottish West Coast and islands, especially Islay.
Yeah. Would you say that you liked that style like a bit more, like like a peatier style, I guess?
I like almost all styles of whiskey as long as it's made by by heart and have good quality.
Yeah.
So sometimes at whiskey tasting, and when they ask me about peated whiskey, I say, well, maybe not always. Normally, I drink peated whiskey from the beginning of October to the end of September.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're out of the season now.
Now, another really common question is, what's my favorite whiskey? And that's really difficult to answer.
It's the worst question, but it's a great one to ask, but it's a horrible one to have to answer. A question that I also kind of wanted to ask on a similar vein is, what are like some casks that you'd love to use? I mean, it sounds like you've already used quite a few different kinds.
We have a few different kinds. The majority is first fill bourbon. And then we do some second fill bourbon after we bottle whiskey from first fill bourbon. The second biggest part is sherry cask. And since we released Barry, the most popular one, I'm buying quite a lot of PX sherry cask.
Okay.
But we have some Oloroso and the Fino, Amontillado, Palo Cortado. And I'm also fond of Moscatel and Pajarete. We have some Sauternes cask and port wine cask and so on. And we also do quite a lot of virgin oak, normally American and Swedish oak. But I've tried some Asian oak and Russian oak, French oak, Hungarian oak. And we have the thing in Sweden, or every distiller outside UK, we are not obligated to use just oak. So we have some chestnut casks, also selling to private customers. And I've bought some skewed casks like Brazilian Amburana, French Acacia, French Cherry, and different type of wood. I don't have high hopes of it, but I'm quite interested in how it will taste. So
I was going to ask, yeah.
I couldn't even guess. Do you, when you use oak like that, or like, you know, unusual types of oak, do you like, are they virgin, or do you season them first, or?
No, we don't season any cask. We do virgin oak cask and normally air dried. But sometimes we buy kiln dried American oak as well.
So they're going to be pretty punchy.
Yeah. And before this summer, we will have 20,000 casks in the warehouse. So we're starting to build up a good number of casks for the future.
Yeah. I guess one thing that's not similar at all, possibly to Japan or Scotland, is the sort of temperature changes that you must get throughout the year, which must drastically affect.
Yeah, it could be like 60 degrees difference between a cold winter day and a warm summer day.
Yeah.
So outside it could be below 30 degrees minus, and that the warmest I measured inside the warehouse is 28 degrees Celsius.
Pretty toasty. In the months where it's like minus 30, does like what effect does that have on the whiskey? Because obviously the colder it is, the slower the interaction. But I just curious what that means.
Well, we have a different type of maturation. And the additive maturation that gives color and flavors like vanilla, coconut, and spiciness that enhances with higher temperature. So we get most of those flavors during summertime. But the interactive maturation, that substances in the spirit, mostly alcohol, will react with substance in the wood, mostly acid, and forming fruity esters. And those fruity flavors will give us more like tropical fruits instead of the normal citrus and pear and apples we get from the new make. And to get those interactive notes, you need to have pressure changes in the cask. So when the temperature goes up and down, we have some pressure changes that force spirit into the pores of the oak. And when the temperature drops, the new flavors come back in the oak. So we have maturation during winter, even if it's cold, because you can have like 20, 25 degrees difference in 2 days during winter. We don't have that during summer.
It's a really important point, though. It's crazy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of like unlike anywhere else. How do we get that?
So in average, it's slightly warmer than in Scotland. We have for bourbon barrels and 200 liters, we have an angel share of 2.55% annually, and it's a bit higher than you normally have in Scotland.
Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, that must make some really. Yeah, I feel like you would. Yeah, it's very unique to your. Well, I guess rural place in Sweden. Amazing. Sorry, I completely lost track of time, Jake.
I know it happens. Yeah.
I don't know what time we got on, but I feel like I must have overrun because I've been lost in conversation.
Well, we've got more notes coming in.
What's everyone saying?
Sort of some baked pears with a bit of bacon from Real Boinga, getting some spicy fruits and toffees, canned fruits. We've got smoked sausage from Malcolm Tucker with some woody spice. There's a bit of black pepper and chili, almost like a juniper sort of fragrance, peatiness. People, very much enjoying it. Steve's already looking into the buy your own cask on the High Coast website. I think he's going to need to get some members to club together with him there. But
oh, that would be cool.
And then some people are just saying how obviously we've had organic whiskies on here. We've had Nick Nean, which actually, well, as the crow flies, isn't too far from Ardnamurchan, but you have to go a long way around to get there.
Yeah.
Just sort of say it's a shame that there's not enough, perhaps interest in organic whiskies for it not to be a much bigger thing for more distilleries. I guess is the sentiment. And sort of if that's what you're seeing, then that's almost a bit of a shame. They're also preempting. We're going to ask sort of people what their sort of faves of the night have been in a bit, and people are already being like, "Oh, this is going to be a hard one." Like three very different whiskies that people are enjoying.
Good, that's the aim. Brilliant. Right. Sorry, do I have time, Jake? I'm just cautious.
I think we pretty much have used up our time, but
okay.
if you've got a final question, go for it.
I just wanted to ask one thing about like the bottling strength of this, because 51% is like pretty punchy and also quite unusual. So is that specific to this release, or is it just?
No, we normally do bottlings around 50 to 55%. The strongest we have released is 63%, and the weakest is 46. So we've done a few bottlings of 46, but normally it's above 48, around 50, 51, 52 maybe.
Okay, so like on the higher end of like an average.
Yeah, you can always add water.
Yeah.
It's much difficult to improve the strength, increase it. So. Yeah,
it's not like you drink it and be like that's significantly higher, because it's really, really lovely to drink. But yeah, it's just not it's just slightly unusual. Interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't mentioned this, but any new members, like you absolutely can add a bit of water. It can help open up a whiskey, but yeah, these are full trunk very very well for me tonight.
Yeah, that is really really lovely. Thank you. Right. Well, I think we can bring. No, we can't. We're going to talk through some quick drams, and then we're going to hopefully get everyone back.
We do. We're going to talk about the other two in the box very quickly, and then if you're able to hang around, Roger, I know it's slightly later where you are. Then we'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yes, because there are, of course, two other drams in the box.
I know, and quite opposite drams actually. I would say.
Yeah, see, as we always say,
yeah,
we're not going to do full tastings of these here. 5 drams is, quite a lot in a night if you want to save these yourself for later. But yeah, we're going to chat about them quickly.
Yes.
Do you want to kick us off with the Aberlour?
Yes. I was going to get my dram out, but I've run out of glasses. So we have got another little sherried treat for you. So yeah, this is the Aberlour 12-year-old double cask matured. And if I'm right, you probably have better spreadsheet knowledge about this than me, Jake, but we did the 14-year-old double cask matured not too long ago.
Ooh.
What was it?
See if I can get there before the answer in the comments.
But yes, I was going to say someone's going to know somewhere.
It was February 24, so over a year ago.
Okay, nice. So yes, but this one, so Aberlour was built back in 1879. It actually completely burnt down 20 years later in 1898. It had to be rebuilt after a fire, which I feel like for any Scotch whiskey distillery that's been around since the 1800s has just happened to them all somehow. But yeah, so we have a lovely sherried Speyside single malt for you. It's matured in both bourbon and sherry, hence double cask matured. And yes, like it says in the tasting note, this, if you do remember the one we had last year, this is going to be a little crisper, a little citrusier, but sort of Aberlour, when it matures, gets on this lovely toffeed note, which you can definitely still find in here. And it has a lot of fruits, I'd say, in this. It's you've got your orchard fruit, you've definitely got the berries and the currants from the sherry cask. So yeah, I'd say I feel 2 years doesn't seem like it would make a lot of difference, but actually, obviously, since they released them both, this is so worth trying alongside the 14-year-old, and also worth trying because you have it.
I don't know, how they're bringing them together slightly differently, perhaps different casks, but this one, it shows a bit more of sort of the DNA of the new make. I think the sort of the apple and blackcurrant character. Difficult to. I've just taken a little sip. It's difficult to go from peated 51% to unpeated 40%, but yeah, that's the kiddie. It's more of that sort of almost like the new make character of Aberlour shining through, but still with the bourbon and sherry influence. Yeah,
it's really lovely balance. I think I think it's when a bourbon and sherry come together in perfect. I was gonna say harmony. All whiskeys have good harmony, but it feels like you get the best of both, plus the new make coming through.
Should we crack on with Jack Daniels?
Yes, please. Tell me more.
I suppose the main thing, or the first thing to say is, Jack Daniels in the box. But you have to, if all you think about when you think of Jack Daniels is the number 7, the standard release, and people or yourself drinking it with Coke when you were younger,
stealing it from your parents,
or put some of that preconception to one side and sort of think that it's the oldest. I think it's the oldest registered distillery in America. They're in full control of their production. They're from start to finish, and some of their premium releases are basically great. This is the one that's probably, in many ways, most similar to the standard JD, but is like the premium version. Like it's going to be recognizable. One of the best descriptions I saw about this when we were putting it together was somebody online said like a bourbon expert who really knew their American whiskey was like, it's all the recognizable stuff from Jack Daniels, but I want another sip. But their premium stuff can be and is great. I mean, this is single cask. It's been right at the top of their rick houses where the temperature is and the humidity are crazy. Or you're getting just intense flavor in there in a short amount of time. A lot of evaporation as well. And yeah, Tennessee whiskey is basically bourbon, but it's been
filtered through
charcoal.
Maple charcoal.
That's
my like almost
doesn't know that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. And yeah, like Jack Daniels do a bunch of premium releases, not just this one. There are different single barrels. They've got bottled in bond series. They do rye whiskey. They've had a 10-year-old for a couple of years, or 3 or 4 years, but it's just arrived properly in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Basically today, and basically sold out.
Oh, mad.
But yeah, the point is, go home with an open mind, because Jack Daniel's distillery actually makes great whiskey.
Yeah. Well, also, I always say this when people, talk to me, and people always be like, well, what about Jack Daniel's? And I'm like, well, you don't become like one of the biggest brands in the world by making something really, really bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you like it, then if you like bourbon as well, like you can take all of those things that made it popular, and obviously, like you said, that guy said, like, make it better.
I've seen there's somebody in the comments asking, someone saying, well, why wasn't there some cola in there as well? Why is there not cola in my set for
Tiny one. We couldn't get the collab, guys.
Someone's asking if I know how old it is. I don't. I'd be amazed if this is more than like 4 years old. But you've got to think again, like it is in that. This is exclusively from the top of the rick house where evaporation is like really high, the wood interaction is really high.
It would be
so yeah, you can't you can't long age American whiskies in the same way. With those 10-year-old I mentioned before, they've had to move that around into some lower floors.
Did you get to try any, Jake?
But yeah. Oh yes, I did want to touch on the fact that I've seen a few people saying that they're sort of boycotting American stuff at the moment with all the tariffs and noise and there's in the chat they've said no one's allowed to say his name, so I won't say his name. But I guess you've got to remember a lot of these tariffs are being paid by American businesses and shoppers as well. So like they're suffering. It's
a lose-lose.
It is, and 70 or 80 million people didn't vote for this as well. So there's that too.
Yeah.
But yeah. There you go. Another 5 whiskies.
Lovely stuff.
Let's bring our guests back. They've actually been chatting in the background, our guests as well.
I know. Let's continue it.
So let's bring them back in so they can do it not over the chat. It's good. How you all doing?
All good. Very good. Been enjoying these lovely, lovely drams. What a great selection.
I only have one though.
Yeah, sorry, Roger.
That's your fault for living in Sweden. Oh, hang on a minute. Kidding. Sorry, Roger. Really good drams tonight.
Yeah.
It must be. I mean, I hope you don't ask them to pick a favorite, because I don't think I could, and I should be able to pick a favorite.
Oh, we are definitely going to ask them to pick a favorite.
Oh no, that's mean.
And so yeah, everyone who is tuning in, this is the part where unfortunately you do have to choose a favorite. So let us know in the chat. We'll talk amongst ourselves to give you some time to decide.
Listen, they all know I'm on the chat, so they better go.
I'm watching out for Jenny's influence on the chat here.
Yeah. She's infiltrated the chat. She's going to steer it.
It was the first time that I've tried either of those jams from Ardnamurchan or High Coast, and yeah, it's some really, really strong releases there. Really cool. the Ardnamurchan for me had all those like cherries, plums, that kind of cinnamon baking spices that you were saying, Jenny. And the High Coast was like so like citrus forward, and it had the salinity and like a lovely like liquor smoke in there too. A real treat to try them both.
Yeah, I feel like I need to say thank you to all of you guys for making them.
Yeah, I know it's just fun, and I mean, I know both Roger and Seb from having been in the industry for quite a while, and I can genuinely say that everyone here is so passionate about whiskey, and I mean, Roger nailed it. He says it's made from the heart. If it's made from the heart, it tastes good, and you can tell. Like, genuinely can tell tonight. It's been really good whiskeys.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, delicious. Well done, Jake, for putting together a top selection.
Can't take all the credit.
Yeah, take the credit.
It's a skill. It's a skill. Are people stumped on the rankings?
Okay, now they're wanting bribes. Okay, come on. A bottle of Jack Daniels, I can send you that, yes.
Nick Tarrant's asking if we'll be getting more of the 10-year-old Jack Daniels in at Master of Malt. We did try. We weren't too proud to beg for more today, but the supplier assures us that there is no more to have.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, I mean, people are starting to answer the question. Do you want me to go through some of these, Jess?
Yeah.
Jeremy very much enjoyed the Glasgow and then the AD for him. Yeah, the Barry's Ardnamurchan, Nick as well enjoyed the Ardnamurchan and 1770. Go, hold on, let me put my teeth in. Clive has got a high 5 for the High Coast, so I think that means full marks from him.
Love that.
Peter loved all these drams. Fave tonight is the Ardnamurchan. Then, yeah, people asking for bribes. Yeah, maybe some people before that expecting bribes.
We've never had that before. The first.
And Chris is asking, Karlsson, is that a Swedish surname too?
Yes, I have a Swedish passport. I was born and bred Sweden, but I've lived in Scotland for a long time now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dave's sticking with his Ardnamurchan because he's looking forward to his oyster luge. He's already got that lined up.
Yeah. Good lad.
Kevin B, 1770 was the one for me. Jonathan Childs, High Coast for me. Just ahead of the Ardnamurchan. All good though. Yeah, real boinger. I give a top finish to the Ardnamurchan and Silent Mills together. Steve Colin Williams thinks it's the Glasgow for him. Wasn't certain at first, but then it grew on him with all its complexities. And also there was no solid bribe offer from Jenny, so he's sticking with that.
Tough gig tonight, I'm telling you.
So yeah, it's sort of people pitching for all of them as ever because people have different tastes and they're all great.
I couldn't pick a favorite tonight. I'm just going to say that straight out. I could not pick a favorite. Love them all.
Yeah. Agreed.
This is an interesting one. Malcolm Tucker said that they don't normally do sherry, so the Ardnamurchan surprised them because they loved it. So that's really cool.
You've converted a non-sherry fan.
That's good. I like that. We like that.
Usually it's like people don't like peat, you know?
Yeah, which we've converted. Well, we convert people on a few fronts.
No, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, peat's often one.
But that's why these boxes are so good because you kind of get, you just get what you get and you have to try it. And it puts you out of your comfort zone. I love it. I think that's the best way forward. I am very much, I go with my comfort. I'll go with the wines I like. I'll go with the food recipes I like. So having that choice and, well, not having the choice, just having to drink what's in the box is amazing.
Yeah.
Finding your
favorite. You're going to get stuff that you know is up your street. And then you get other stuff that, just you're exploring further.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great when people are like a little bit apprehensive and they're like, oh, I don't know about this one. And then by the end of the night, they're like, I can't believe how much I love this. I'm buying a bottle. And it's like the best.
Yeah, it's all about education.
When you like try something new for the first time and your eyes just like, wow, that is amazing. How have I not had this before?
You guys can see that a fair bit if you're out and about at events and things. And you must see it like in real time where you're like, come on, try this. And then people do.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That's the best part of the festivals is when you get people who maybe haven't tried your stuff before and they're like, oh my God, maybe never heard of you before, but this is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the privilege, that is.
And I think, Roger, you get that a lot. You're like, oh, Sweden, you can't make whiskey. And then you just bring out whatever. Oh, bad. I love all of your whiskies. And I am a big fangirl. I know I have sort of come across. But you'll just bring any high coast whiskey out and say, guess what country this was made in? And they'll not think that was made in a different country.
No, there's not a typical Swedish style of whiskey. There's about 20 producers making whiskey in Sweden today.
Yeah.
Most of them are really small, but some are really good. But we're doing quite different types of style. And the only thing we have in common is we are quite young. Well, as a company.
You're the oldest here.
Not a person. The company is rather young. So we've been in production for 14 and a half years compared to the other big brands in Scotland. 250, 300 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was also just checking out the High Coast website, and the amount of bottlings you guys have as well. This is such an impressive library of releases. It's really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have the core range, and then we have a lot of specialities, we call them. It could be anything from 400 to 12,000 bottles, and that's it.
Nice.
I hadn't heard of the Silent Mills collection before, probably because I've just not paid attention, but really loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. I really like your core range, though. Like I am Swedish. I go to Sweden every summer, and I make sure that there is a bottle of High Coast in the parents' bar.
Gotta restock that every year.
Yeah.
There's a few more coming through. Chris has loved the sherried one, saying the JD ain't bad neither. Also loved the Swedish. Peter Ray, all top-notch drams and great speakers tonight. Thanks to all. Alex Battersby, did I say that? He's gone for the Glasgow. And yeah, it's really good box, says Nick Tarrant. Yeah. And Malcolm just saying that, yeah, if he tasted the Swedish blind, he wouldn't never have been able to peg that yet. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us and for your wonderful whiskies as well, of course.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure, and yeah, lovely to spend time with you guys. A great way to spend an evening.
I feel like there's everyone here the whole time.
And don't forget to lift your glasses when you're nosing your whiskey.
Even if it was just that for that top tip. Yeah. Incredible.
Sláinte. Bye.
Bye.